Did you think your dad was the only Mandalorian?
Welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and this is all the Easter eggs, references, and little things that you might have missed in the trailer for The Mandalorian Season 3. I am so pumped about this season. It is incredible how this show has grown from a space gunslinger hunting on the Outer Rim into an epic father-son story about the redemption of an entire planet. We're going to explain everything in this trailer. At the end of the video, we're going to throw out a few theories about what we can see this season, and we're going to do a little bit of recapping just in case you're not up with Clone Wars, Rebels, and all the comics. So let's go!
Have you ever removed your helmet?
Alright, so when we met the Mandalorians in the Clone Wars series, most of them didn't even wear armor. These are the peaceful Mandalorians who lived on the main planet. Now there were more warlike Mandalorians who still wore their ancestral armor, who were exiled to the moon Concordia after they tried to take over the planet.
Like the Moonies and the Landfallians.
Deep cut, man, right on.
Actually, before you go on, I have an announcement to make.
Oh, what's that?
I am going to retire and leave the channel.
Aw, Doug, you can't leave the channel, but actually come to think of it, this is great because this means that now I get to be the manager.
Do whatever you want. I'm gonna go fishing.
So, there have always been these divisions within Mandalorian culture. The planet has been fighting a civil war on and off for centuries. So this is how we can have this one particular group of Mandalorians who vow to never remove their helmets, and why later Bo-Katan says they are a cult. My guess is this is a very ancient warrior tradition among Mandalorians, and that ancient Mandalorians thousands of years ago would have obeyed this law.
These weapons are part of my religion.
I kind of thought that after Season 2, Din might abandon the religion and instead find a new way. Instead, it looks like he's doubling down, as we saw in the book of Boba Fett.
Then you are a Mandalorian no more.
Now, that episode of Boba Fett also gave Din a new quest to redeem himself.
One may only be redeemed in the living waters beneath the mines of Mandalore.
And Mandalore, as we see later in this trailer, has been completely decimated. The Empire conquered the planet, strip-mined it for Beskar, and then destroyed everything when they left.
We'll seat any Mandalore on the throne.
That planet is cursed.
Now, it is interesting that Din says that Mandalore is cursed because he was rescued by members of Death Watch. That's the group that lived on the moon. Now, we know this because of these patches on their armor. So this implies that the people who lived on the moon must have told their foundlings that Mandalore was a cursed world, because at this point, the constant wars turned the surface of Mandalore into a desert. So remember, the armorer has told Din that he is no longer a Mandalorian because he removed his helmet.
Then you are a Mandalorian no more.
And in the Comic-Con trailer, the armorer said, what's worse, you removed it of your own free will, which is very interesting. Like, maybe if you lost your helmet in combat, then maybe it's not so bad, and you can say a few hair-tail Vizslas and be done with it. The important thing is that Din no longer considers himself a Mandalorian until he atones.
He has meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Very good. Hey, Doug, actually, in honor of your retirement, I got you something.
Is it a chocolate pie?
No, because that would kill you. In fact, this is even better, though. This is a stunning Batman Quantum Watch made by Undone. They're the sponsor of this video. First of all, check out this case that the watch came in. It's got this bat insignia on the side. Now, the great thing about this watch is that it's not just high quality, but it's made by Batman fans. So everything on this watch is a callback to some part of Batman lore. You have the bat emblem on the case back, and the date indicator wheel is a subtle nod to Batman's yellow oval insignia. Even the strap is fashioned after Batman's armor, and the buckle resembles his batsuit material as well.
Wow, thanks so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You see, Doug, Undone has lots of high quality branded watches just like this one that include tons of tiny details that only real fans would catch. They also make products from Disney, Pixar, Superman, and even Aquaman.
That's great.
You see, their watches can be customized so you can shape the story of the watch to who you are. Also, these make incredible gifts, and it's not too early to start thinking about shopping for the holidays, which is why I got one for you, to say that I love you.
Oh, that's so sweet, but I can't leave a job where I am so loved. I am staying, and I'm keeping the watch.
Darn it, now I'll never get to be manager. But listen, we've got a special discount on these watches for ScreenCrush fans. 10% on every watch on the website, good through the end of 2022 when you use the code ScreenCrush10. So click our link in the description and use promo code ScreenCrush10 to get your Undone watch today. Next shot shows Din's N1 starfighter entering the atmosphere of a planet and then exploring a cave with Grogu. I love that his hoverpod now has this little light on it so he can help explore. It's only a matter of time before that little thing is equipped with blasters and Baby Yoda can go ham on button mashing like it's an arcade machine of Street Fighter 2. The Armorer sends Din back to planet Mandalore, where he has to bathe in the waters underneath the planet to redeem himself. So this is setting up how Din's quest is going to fold into the quest of Bo-Katan. Now, very brief backstory on Bo-Katan. She was once a member of Death Watch, the group on the moon that also saved Din Djarin as a child.
But wait, she doesn't believe that you have to keep your helmet on like these other Death Watch people.
Yes, which makes me think that when Death Watch was exiled to Concordia, there must have been other Mandalorians who were even more extreme who split off from them. This sect would have been the Death Watch members who rescued Din Djarin at the end of the Clone Wars. So the point is, Bo-Katan was a member of Death Watch, and this group eventually did conquer Mandalore, but then that group was taken over by Darth Maul. Maul won the right to lead Mandalore because he won the Darksaber in combat. Then Bo-Katan led a revolt against Maul, and Ahsoka Tano defeated the former Sith Lord in combat, which actually should have made her the rightful ruler of the planet.
Elder One rules, got it.
But Bo-Katan took over leadership of Mandalore, but was later forced out by the Empire. Eventually, Bo-Katan did lead a revolt against the Empire and was given the Darksaber by Sabine Wren. But as we know, Moff Gideon defeated her, won the saber and the right to rule Mandalore, and then he strip mined the planet for all of its Beskar. This is why Bo-Katan wants the Darksaber back, because it would unite the houses under her rule and allow her to take back Mandalore. Unfortunately, Din Djarin won the Darksaber in combat, even though, much like Jon Snow, he doesn't want it.
Come on, just take it.
Now, back to the trailer where we see Bo-Katan in a kind of throne room, sitting on a throne very much like the one in the Mandalorian capital city. I don't think this is on Mandalore, but some other base of operations where her group gathers their strength before they can attack the planet. She may even be on that moon Concordia, which as far as we know, was not called by the Empire for its resources. Now this is where Din's quest aligns with hers. They both want to return to Mandalore, but Bo-Katan is reluctant.
Children of the Watch are a cult of religious zealots that broke away from Mandalorian society.
She also doesn't want him to go to Mandalore because he has the Darksaber, and if he arrived there, this would technically allow him to rule the planet.
She's Daenerys and he is Jon Snow.
I don't want it.
In the throne room, we see banners hung featuring an unknown symbol. This could be a symbol for a new Mandalorian house that Bo-Katan has created. Mandalore is organized kind of like a federal government. Each family is a clan, and each of these clans is pledged to serve a different house. Or this could be a symbol to represent a new united Mandalore that welcomes all houses. In any case, it is very similar to the symbol of the Night Owls, which is her militant group. Next, we see a bunch of Kowakian monkey lizards like Salacious Crumb. Now, they're all sitting in a tree on what I'm thinking is planet Navarro. This is where Mando was hiding out at the beginning of the series, and you'll remember that it was not such a nice place. But after they kicked out the Empire, Greef Karga took over as magistrate and cleaned the place up. A good indicator of this is that in the old days, these monkey lizards were being roasted on spittles, but now they're happy and free climbing trees. So this one example really shows the evolution of this place from kicker town to respectable settlement. And not for nothing, but this is a staple of Western stories. Westerns are all about the land being tamed, and so the gunslinger hero is no longer necessary in the town's story. In this case, it's similar to the movie The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, where we actually get to see how peaceful the town is years later after the outlaw is killed. Later, we do see Greef drawing against a Nikto here in town, framed like a classic Western shootout, really leaning into this Liberty Valance type story. There's even a statue of IG-11 who saved the town from the Empire.
Dictates I cannot be captured. I must be destroyed.
In this scene, we see a red Nikto, a Trandoshan, which is the same species as the iconic bounty hunter Bosk, a green Nikto, and then a Klatooinian. Now, in Return of the Jedi, there was a Klatooinian named Baradu. And of course, when you put these three together, it creates a very famous Star Wars Easter egg that references the classic sci-fi movie, The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Latu, Barada, Nikto.
So Greef Karga is not only the administrator here, but his robes have gotten very fancy, showing that the town is prosperous, and he's not afraid to be a little ostentatious. But think about it. Greef was a magistrate before. Moff Gideon said he was disgraced.
I advise disgraced magistrate Greef Karga to search the wisdom of his years.
So what if he's going down the same path, maybe letting a few extra credits slip into his pocket? See, this is similar to the cycle that the galaxy is now in. They all think the Empire is gone, but people are making the same mistakes, letting the First Order rise to power and take the Empire's place. This entire Disney Plus slate is slowly showing us the rise of the First Order. There's a protocol droid in the background here, and here we see R5-D4, the astromech droid from A New Hope that has also appeared in seasons 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian. R5 is now serving as Mando's astromech for his new Naboo Naboo fighter that he received in the Book of Boba Fett. And we see later in the trailer that it was Peli-Motto who gave Mando R5. I'm curious to see why Mando is in need of an astromech droid, because remember, he hates droids.
No droids.
Here you'll notice that when Peli pats R5, he begins to spark and a piece of him falls off, just like in A New Hope when he was originally chosen by Uncle Owen, but was replaced with R2-D2 because he had a bad motivator.
Uncle Owen!
Yeah?
This R2 unit has a bad motivator, look!
Now, Greef Karga seems to have left his life of crime behind him, and now he's serving the people in Navarro as a magistrate. But you never know if he might be tempted to get into some more shady dealings. In other words, he could be using this political position as a springboard to do even more shady activities. I really want to see this show dive into like the political drama during this time, with the New Republic trying to stop the Mandalorians from returning to their planet. Or maybe the Republic is trying to widen their influence to include Mandalore. Maybe they're trying to track down Din Djarin because a lot of Mandalorians think that he is the rightful ruler of the planet. And we might also get to see the beginnings of the inner political turmoil of the Republic. You see, one of the reasons the Republic had such a weak government is because there was a lot of infighting. There were two main political parties, the Populists, led by Leia, and the Centrists, who were made up of the wealthier worlds that were more inclined toward a centralized, Imperial-style government. Now, it turned out that some of these Centrists were financing the First Order, so maybe we'll get to see some of these seeds being sown in this series. Now, I know a lot of you don't like politics in your Star Wars, but I love it. Read the book Bloodline. It's one of my all-time favorite Star Wars novels. It shows the politics of how the First Order rose to power and why Leia quit the government and became the Resistance. Great book. Next, we see Grogu actually in the cockpit of the N1 starfighter, which is much safer than that weird exposed bubble. But I would still prefer to see the little guy in a much larger, more heavily armored ship. Originally, this spot on the ship had been turned into a cockpit for Grogu, who now is seen having to ride on Mando's lap. Cute. And here we see Dr. Pershing. Pershing is the genetic scientist who was working to harvest Grogu's midichlorians, most likely so he could use them to make a Force-sensitive clone of Palpatine.
Cloning.
After all, he did wear a Kaminoan cloner patch here. Now, I am curious if Pershing knows that he's trying to clone Palpatine, because obviously he doesn't tell this to the Republic, or they would have, known about it.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
We see a group of Mandalorians armored up and doing a salute.
Okay, so which Mandalorians are these?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? The cult Mandalorians are still in hiding, but maybe this season brings them into conflict with Bo-Katan's Mandalorians because they think that Din should be the rightful ruler of their planet, and so they would go to war. And as we've seen, these underground Mandalorians don't shy from a fight above ground. Later, we see the armorer handing her hammer over to Paz Vizsla, maybe passing on her mantle of leadership. You remember Paz Vizsla? This guy.
These are the spoils of the Great Purge.
And this guy.
This is the way.
So, later in the trailer, we do see a group of Mandalorians defending people in a town. I kind of think this is the underground group. Just like how they helped a young Din Djarin, maybe their creed also allows them to start helping other groups across the galaxy.
This is the way.
And sidebar, I like how in this shot, they show the armorer ladling out water to cool metal, symbolic of how Din now has to cleanse himself in the pools beneath Mandalore. Then, this group of Mandalorians, I think, is with Bo-Katan. Their armor is more colorful, creatively designed.
The armor I wear is 500 years old. I reforged it to my liking, but the battles, the history, the blood, all lives within it.
Whereas these cult Mandalorians are much more austere and don't want to stand out. It shows how Bo-Katan's forces are kind of more traditional Mandalorians, whose armor is largely ceremonial to them. So I think that this is what's left of the Night Owls. That's the group of female Mandalorians that Bo-Katan led against Darth Maul at the end of the Clone Wars series. Next, we see a space battle through an asteroid field with ships attacking what looks like a mining facility. It would make sense if this facility belonged to the Empire, or maybe even a proto-First Order. These ships that are either chasing Mando or with him look like Comric fighters flown by the Mandalorians. Next, we see a group of Mandalorians preparing to jump out of a transport ship like paratroopers, as we saw them do something similar in the Clone Wars series. The N1 starfighter lands on Navarro, and hey, notice this pagoda. It's a major upgrade from the stone arch in Season 1. It's another sign that this community is thriving. And then, here he is! The best thing about Rise of Skywalker is in this show. Alright, J.J. Abrams, you're forgiven.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Maybe not. Here we see Bo-Katan trying to eat some food, but being eyeballed by Grogu. I can relate.
What?
Nothing. Now, in that San Diego Comic-Con trailer, which is very similar to this trailer, we do see a vast amount of Star Destroyers being built. Now, I don't think they're being torn apart for scrap. We've seen that before on planets like Lotho Minor, and this just looks too orderly. And these are definitely Imperial ships. They're too tall to be the sleeker ships of the First Order. But I'm wondering if maybe this could be the First Order making their first fleet, using the husks of old Star Destroyers, improving them. One of the worst things about the sequel trilogy is that this new empire emerged out of nowhere with no context. But this show, and the others set in this era, are going to be showing us the rise of the First Order, how they built the ships, what was happening in the galaxy that allowed them to rise to power to begin with. These could even be Zeiston-class Star Destroyers from the Sith fleet in Rise of Skywalker. And, again, one of the most ridiculous ideas in that movie was that Palpatine could have like hundreds of ships with Death Star lasers on them that appeared from nowhere. So it would be cool to at least see how that was pulled off. And this could also explain that asteroid mining base. The Imperials are mining metal to build this new fleet. It could also be that the remaining Imperials have coalesced on Mandalore, like it's the last stronghold of the old Empire. So Bo-Katan not only has to return to this planet, but she has to destroy the Imperial presence as well. And finally, the big reveal, the remains of Mandalore. Now, like I said earlier, after centuries of civil war, Mandalore was reduced to a desert. So the Mandalorians lived in these giant domed cities. In the Book of Boba Fett, we saw a flashback that showed the Empire destroying these cities. And now we see the aftermath. I mean, is this planet actually cursed? Is Din Djarin going to have to overcome some spiritual quest in these caverns where he encounters the Force Ghost of Ter Vizsla? I mean, guys, if this is what they showed us in the trailer, I can only imagine what else is coming in the show. But what are your thoughts on the trailer? Are you looking forward to the season? Let me know in the comments below, or you can @ me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, be sure to subscribe and smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.